we'll gather round, feel the love compound. Blue elephant is strong.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, today we are going to be using this gorgeous diamond storage mold from Into Resin. And this was in my last Into Resin unboxing that I did, and I'm finally getting around to making it. Now, if you've seen my video from Thursday, you'll know that I'm trying to play around with that dual color technique that Wendy from Teexpert Crafts and DNA Resin have done. So that's what I want to do today and see if we can make it work in a jar. Now, I've already mixed up my resin, and for today I'm using Let's Resin's epoxy resin. I'm also going to be using the Into Resin Aurora powder in green, Lightwish Starry Night series in deep green or dark green, and the Let's Resin Chameleon Flakes. I think it's the olive pink combination, the opal kind of color ones. Now, what I did is I let my resin heat up, and I stopped it, as you saw, at about 28 degrees. I was going to let it go to about 30, 32, but I got impatient. So hopefully this will work. I decanted some into a paper cup, and I'm just adding a little bit of that Aurora powder into this to get that kind of green effect. And then just to make it a little bit deeper, I'm going to add in a little squirt of the Starry Night dye. Now, my plan was to do it as a drop, but you can see my bottle got clogged. So when I beat it and squeezed it in, it ended up being a big squirt, but it's fine. It's fine. And that's just to kind of deepen this color a little bit. We still have all the lovely, just swirly, sparkly, shimmery stuff that you're getting from that Aurora powder. And now what I want to do is I'm going to start with a clear resin, and I'm slowly pouring some into my mold. I'm covering the bottom portion of the actual jar part and the lid, all where the diamonds and the facets and all of the just crystals and all of that are, going around the edge of this jar just to kind of encourage the resin to go there, and hopefully if there's any air bubbles or pockets, just to squeeze them out. Then I'm going around here, like where the actual like crystal facets are, just to make sure that there's no bubbles kind of stuck in there, and just moving them around, getting around the edges of the lid. And then we're going to start with our green resin. Now, I am just kind of haphazardly just throwing the resin in. The reason I waited for the resin to warm up, if you're new to resin or you don't know, is once it starts to thicken and heat up, it kind of makes it so that when you pour, like if you're doing other colors into your clear, the colors aren't going to merge as easily and as fluidly because the resin's thicker than normal. So they're not going to blend so much. So the green that I'm pouring in, because I'm not going to mix it up at all, should stay how I'm pouring it. Now, it's going to move a little bit, but it's not going to completely just dissolve and go into that clear. I'm going to get the lines that I'm putting in here for the most part, which is why I'm just kind of going around, and then I'm topping it off with a little bit more clear resin, going back with my color and back and forth until I get to the point where I'm happy or I run out of resin, as I have. But that's fine, because in all honesty, I don't want to fill this mold completely to the top. I want it almost there. I want it right below the top, because we're not done adding the resin yet. Now, this is 24 hours later. The resin has cured, and you can see, as I'm showing you, you can see the almost cloudy effect that you're getting from that Aurora powder that we put in there, because we waited until our resin heated up. Now what I want to do is I'm going to put chameleon flakes on the back of this, and because I waited a full 24 hours, my resin's not sticky anymore, so these chameleon flakes aren't going to stick to the resin. I mean, they might a little bit, but not enough that I'm going to get the coverage I want. So I am just going to help that along by running over the entirety of this with some gilding adhesive. Now, this is just going to As it dries, you can see it goes on purple right now. As it dries, it will become clear and it will stay tacky, and that will ensure that my chameleon flakes, I can get them rubbed on complete coverage and burnished in really, really well, so that we're not going to have any empty spaces. Okay. And then we're going to add, after all of this is said and done and we get that on there, we're going to add some more resin to it and finish filling these guys up. Now, I honestly, I've watched 2 videos with this technique done with the dual colors, and neither one of them were in a jar. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if it's going to work. I know that in theory you should have 2 kind of really contrasting colors. And again, if you've seen my video from Thursday, you'll know that I used the same green that I used in this, but I backed it with a very contrasting color, very bright color, so that you can actually see the difference in there. Because I'm doing, like, I think it's pink olive for the chameleon flakes, and then I'm doing the green for the actual part that I've already put in there. I don't know if I'm gonna get the effects that I'm looking for. My gut is telling me probably not, because there's not enough of a contrast between those colors. So we're just going to wait and see. Unfortunately, I mean, I could have used chameleon powders. I have a bunch of them. But as far as the flakes go, which is what I kind of really wanted to try, I only have the kind of opal line that Let's Resin has. That's all. I don't have the other chameleon ones. So we're going to go with it. We're going to see what happens. All right. So it's been about 20-30 minutes. My gilding adhesive is dry. So now we're going to start with these. Now, if you've never worked with chameleon flakes and you thought dusting just mica powders in general was a mess, look at this. These things, there is so much static from this being a brand new mold with the silicone and just whatever, that they fly as it is, but they went everywhere. My shirt was covered, my hands were covered by the end, everything was covered. It was a chameleon flake nightmare, to say the very least. So I just grabbed a bunch with my tweezers. Now I am just spreading them all out, and you do need quite a bit of it. I mean, there's a lot in the jar, in the little pots that they give you, so you want to make sure you've got it fully covered. And then once you're done getting them everywhere, you do want to make sure you burnish it in really, really well. And you just do that by using, a soft, fluffy brush, getting off all that excess and just making it just as smooth as possible and making sure that it's completely covered, because we're going to back this in black. And I do not want any of the black to show through at all. Now you can already see just all the gorgeous color that's coming from those chameleon flakes. All right, now onto the lid. We're going to do the same exact thing and just go with it. Now, I do want to take the time out to say I'm doing black, but because of the colors that I'm doing I don't want the black. I don't want the top of the lid, because it's going to be the bottom of the lid, actually. I don't want it to be black. I don't want the bottom of my jar to be black. So we're going to go another route. Instead of using resin to fill this up right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some acrylic black paint and I'm going to paint behind there. It's going to give us the same effect that using black resin would do, with the exception of you're not going to see it. Could I have gone through and done a very thin layer of black and then poured another color on top? Yeah, absolutely, I could have. But what's going to happen if I did that is you're going to see that line between, like, where I poured the clear resin, and then if I poured black, I'm going to have that line, no matter how thin it is, there's still going to be a line of black there. And then whatever backing color I use to hide the black. So doing it this way, in theory, there shouldn't be a black line, because it's just not going to be there. I'm going to the edge, but you may not be able to tell in video. I'm not really going all the way to the edge, like I am for the most part, but there's just the smallest of, just teeniest, tiniest little bit in between where I am kind of edging it out in black and where the mold is. And that is so that hopefully, if I do this right, when I pour on my backing color, you're not going to see that black because it's going to go over it. I'm leaving just that little bit of space, not too much because I want the effect of the chameleon powders with the black backing. And you shouldn't see any black at all unless I completely botch this. That's what my plan is anyway. Now, whether it works or not, we're going to find out, but it should. It should. Now, in the lid, I have a lot more space than I have left on the bottom of this pot, and that's fine. I decided that obviously I can't go clear because I don't want the black to show, and that would kind of defeat the whole purpose. So I'm just going to do kind of like a creamy white color. Let this dry. It's completely dry. Now, I've got the litter bee, and it's called creamy white or white cream or something like that. And it's kind of like I thought when I picked it, it's been a while since I used it was going to be more of like an interference gold, which could work, right? I mean, the colors of the chameleon powder, they do cast gold, so that should be fine. But when I actually mixed it in, it was way, way, way more goldy than I wanted. Not creamy at all. So I added a bunch of white mica powder just to tone that gold down some. You still have the hints of it, but it looks more of a cream color, eggshell color than it is a stark white, which I didn't want that either. Now I'm just pouring a little bit on here, and I'm being careful not to do too much because, again, there's not a lot of space in this, but enough just to cover it up and get completely all the way around. Hit it with the heat gun to pop any bubbles. And then now I'm just going to take it to the edge of my mold, and that's it. Wait for this to cure and see if I was able to accomplish it or not. I am really excited to see the results of it. I really enjoyed how my piece came out in Thursday's video, even though it was just kind of fooling around, trying to see what we can get type thing. I do like the effects that I got, so I'm really, really hoping that I can get some really, really good effects with this as well. And I mean, obviously, it's already going to be gorgeous because every mold that I've used from Into Resin is absolutely stunning. So, you know, you'd really have to like screw this up in order to make this an awful piece. But let's see. All right, so 24 hours later, it's finally time to demold, and now is the moment of truth. Was I able to set out and do what I intended on? We're going to find out. Now, I did struggle with this part of the mold a little bit. I was really scared to turn it inside out to touch on the inside because, you know, their molds are very, very well done and they tell you not to handle the inside of the mold. All in all, in the end, I ended up having to turn it inside out, which was okay because I should have used gloves, but I didn't. But all the crystallized parts were on the bottom, not the sides. All right, so this is what we've got. Now, is it exactly what I envisioned in my head and what I set out to do? Not at all. But look at that rainbow of colors that you get. It is absolutely stunning. The amount of color from the chameleon flakes, the just the green that you can see that ran down the sides of the jar itself, like beautiful. And this lid. Now, I don't know if you can tell on video or not. I'm trying to show you here, but inside like the bigger pieces of diamonds, not where all the little crystals are, you can actually see the aurora powder resin in there. Like you can see it. You just it it didn't do what I had envisioned in my mind, but I'm not mad about how this turned out. It is absolutely stunning. Just wait until you see all of the colors that come out in these glamour shots. I am in love with it. The jar, Absolutely gorgeous. Love, love, love. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will see you on Tuesday in the next one. Love ya. Bye.
Blue elephant is strong. Together we belong. In every comment, right? You lift me to new heights. Your support, it's clear, gives me reason to cheer.